Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another podcast episode with the Marketing Guides for Small Business. I'm Ian Cantle from Outsource Marketing, and today I'm joined by Ken Tucker and Paul Barthel from Changescape Web and Jeff Steck from Tylerica Systems.
Yes.
Guys,
love the energy today, Ian.
Yeah. Well, we got a foot of snow last night, maybe more. And so I was out there shoveling. So I still have some energy left. So we'll keep going as long as we can today.
So you passed your cardio test for the year.
Yeah. That's right. Well, hey, we know that marketing can feel overwhelming. And hold on. Yes, this is the right one I've got here. Marketing can feel overwhelming to a lot of businesses, to a lot of people, even in marketing. There's so many strategies, so many tactics, so many platforms, so much noise that is out there, so many shiny objects. But what if you could sit down with a group of marketing experts and ask them your biggest questions? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. I have some questions for our marketing guides. And so I'm excited about this conversation. Hopefully it'll be a good conversation. We're going to tackle some of the most common marketing questions we hear from small business owners. Everything from how do I know if my marketing is working to what's the fastest way to get a new customer and much more. So whether you're a business owner or just getting started with marketing, or you've been at it for years and want to refine your approach, this episode is packed with insights that I think you'll find really helpful. I thought it would be a really great place to start by just asking some more general questions of our guides. So how or why did you end up becoming a marketer for small businesses? And what was the path that brought you there today or brought you here today? So I'm going to start with Jeff. How'd you end up here, Jeff?
Yeah. So how long is the podcast again? No, I have to shorten it. I joke that I'm on career 3.0 because I can't hold a job. So I started out my career in the high-tech world. I actually used to be a semiconductor chip design engineer. And then I moved to a software company that sold software to chip design companies. And that's where I learned the outside, the customer-facing skills, worked with some really great salespeople, got very invested in making customers successful, moved into management and leading a customer success organization. Consulting organizations. Then I had, management skills, consultative skills. Post Y2K, I was the classic example of the engineer with outdated hands-on skills and a shrinking need for well-paid manager jobs. Read that, laid off. So after a lot of soul searching, decided didn't want to stay in high tech. And my wife and I made a total shift, went from high tech to low tech. We bought a house painting franchise. So I know more about paint than what you could ever want to know. But as a lot of franchises do, and especially this one was very small, they kind of leave you on your own to figure out how to run the business and market it. They're great at giving you a name and some brand recognition. They're great at collecting a royalty check, maybe a little bit of training, but then it's like, go get them, Tiger. That's your strategy. So I had to figure out marketing. And I started doing a lot of self-study, and I came across Duct Tape Marketing by John Jantsch. So I read that. I started putting the principles into play in my business, and guess what? They worked. So fast forward 12 years, it's time to get out of the painting business. Once you've and to be fair, I didn't do the painting. We had subcontractors, but I ran the business, did sales, had a sales team. Once you've overseen 1,000 painting jobs, it kind of gets old. So the quest for what next? It's like, well, management skills, consulting skills, small business ownership skills, marketing background. I want to do something that helps small business owners. And I looked at general business coaching and settled on marketing. And early on, it was marketing coaching. Then it moved into building up the agency, and now fractional CMO services. And here we are.
Awesome. I think and I'm sure this will run true with everyone we're talking to today, because I know your stories, but our audience doesn't. But it's always interesting, the zigzag path that we all take, I think, in business to get where we are today. And Jeff, the stuff you talked about where, you were doing painting, you were doing management, chip design. Is that, did I, I probably didn't even capture that properly because I'm not familiar with that industry as much, but, how do you use all of that today? Or some of it, because we all use everything we've learned throughout our careers in order to support what we're doing today. But is there something particularly that you think of when you look back at your background about what helps you do your job better today because of that background?
Yeah, I think if I go back to my, the outside skills I gained at the tail end of my high tech career, it's the being invested in customer success. I was supporting a sales organization, making customers successful with the product, consulting, and if you don't do that, if you don't make your customers successful, then you're not going to be in business very long. So that was one. And then in the house painting business, differentiation became important. And also, again, making sure that it's not all about you and your business, but it's about serving your customers and serving them well. So I think those are probably the two related, but slightly different angles on the same thing. It's just caring for your clients and your customers and doing everything in your power to get them where they want to be, where they need to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Great lessons. Thanks for sharing, Jeff. Paul, we're gonna move on to you. So how did you end up where you are today with being a marketing guide for small business? And what path brought you here?
Yeah, these will be short, simple answers here.
All right.
I was getting burned out on systems administration, and Ken was at I think it was a duct tape marketing conference. I knew Ken from a local small business chamber technology group. And he called me and asked me if I would be willing to look at what he was doing and work with him. And I said, yeah, and started working with him part-time. And now it's pretty much what I do.
And how many years ago was that, Paul?
Oh, God, how long ago was that, 10?
2015.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, happy anniversary to the two of you being together in business.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Paul, I know you have a varied background. Is there something particular in your background that's helped you be successful at what you're doing today from a marketing perspective?
Not really. That's the interesting thing. Not really, because my background's pretty technical. I mean, it's
I would say that's exactly
I won't go into
why.
my what's that?
That's exactly why
Yeah.
you're so good at what you do, is because you do have that technical background.
Yeah, marketing has gotten very technical.
Yep.
Yeah, it has. I mean, I won't go into my entire background before all that, but yeah, it's I think it is that technical background, because we're probably going to get into this a little bit later, so I won't go into it now, but there is a lot of technical aspects to marketing that my background, I think, helps me.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I feel the same thing. The technical background, the engineering, part of me loves the problem solving aspect of it and the building things, right?
Mm-hmm.
We get to do that day in and day out, whether it's a marketing automation or whatever. We get to solve problems and build things. So how cool is that?
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. What about you, Ken?
So I came from a classic systems analysis model. I did business process re-engineering, which led to software development. What I found is that because I understood the big picture, whole view of the system, that I quickly became a project manager, and then I was asked to head up a division of a relatively new company to build their federal IT solutions business. And so I took that from $50,000 a year to $30 million. And working in DoD and in the IT space and in aerospace industry, and I worked a lot with the Air Force. There's this thing called the capability maturity model, which is it's a process and a methodology to help make sure that you're building software in a repeatable, managed, scalable, optimized, defined way. And there are levels to that. And so I became an expert in that, and because of that, that really gave me a strong footing for what we were doing. Now, when you sell to the federal government or state and local governments, you have to build a lot of marketing assets to win that business. It's not, it's not really building things to put online, which is what we predominantly do today. But we had to develop, case studies, past performance, so we had to describe what we did for a customer, the value that we added, the approach that we took. All of these are marketing assets. The company I work for, they didn't have any of that. So I built my own marketing team to support our proposal development efforts. And because of that, I fell in love with marketing, and I saw the real power of what we were able to do when we put that type of an approach together. So fast forward, I got to the point where I was asked to, kind of shift my role in that company. And it really wasn't what I wanted to do. So I decided to go out on my own. And I was a hybrid IT marketing business consultant, focusing on how do you leverage IT to bring value to the business aligned with the business goals and objectives. IT, this is shortly after Y2K and the boom, the dot-com boom in the early days. And, what started to happen is that IT would go off and do things because it could, not because it should, and not certainly because it was aligned with the business goals and objectives. So what I was interested in is how do you develop solutions that are aligned with the business goals and objectives. 2008 hits, the economy blows up. All of the people that I was working with lost their jobs. They went away. And so I asked my team that was with me at the time, what do you guys like to do the most? And it's like, we kind of like this digital marketing stuff, and the social media stuff's really intriguing. So, we jumped all in. I went in and I got, I spent a lot of time and energy learning social media marketing and SEO in 2008 and 9 while the economy was kind of down, and fell in love with it. And what's interesting is I transitioned from working, with federal and state and local governments across the U.S. To working in a local chamber-driven community. And I really had never done that in my career before. And so that was an eye-opener. And so that forced me personally to take a deep look into how do you do this thing called local search engine optimization. And I did it partly out of, survival for my own company. And so from there, I took the systems analysis skills, the capability maturity model skills to really kind of focus on how do you build scalable, repeatable, managed solutions in the marketing space? Because most marketing companies either skip strategy, they kind of do it lip service, or they're pushed to run past it altogether and start focused on solutions. In part because they're especially in 2008, 9, 10, people were afraid to turn down any work, and you basically were going to do whatever you needed to do to survive. And so a lot of bad habits were developed, and we wanted to really focus on that marketing system strategy and approach. And so, I'm a solution architect. That's really what I've done my entire career. My job is to build solutions, make them manageable, scalable, repeatable. And so we developed an entire set of solutions around that. And that's really kind of where we are today. I mean, that the evolution over the last really 10 years, working with Paul has really kind of helped light a fire under our capabilities to be able to do that. I come from a technical background, but I'm kind of 1 foot in technology, 1 foot in business. Paul's, got that real strong technical footing that has allowed us to kind of, organize around, a technical project management, creative, and a solution-based approach to marketing. And as Jeff and Ian and Paul, you guys have all said, marketing has become very technical anymore. And honestly, our biggest nightmare is always taking over a project from another marketing company because they screw up the technology for those poor clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
So technology, if you guys take one thing away from this podcast, make sure you find somebody who has the combination of project management, technical, creative, and problem solving skills all in one company to guide your marketing efforts.
And strategic, which I know you mean in there
Right.
as well.
Yeah. Those are all roll up into, yeah.
That's awesome.
How about you, Ian?
Well, before I answer, Ken, is there something uniquely from your background, or maybe you just answered that in the way you phrased that last statement, but is there something unique in your background that helps you be super successful today?
Yeah, I think it is a combination of, you know, I think my biggest strength is big picture thinking and the ability to be able to see the big picture and see all of the different things that could potentially come together to work to build the right system for our clients. We've got a massive toolkit of things that we can do in the marketing world. All of us do. Every business has access to these. Some you can't afford, but some you can. And really the key is, how do you assemble those in a scalable, repeatable, managed way that's strategically aligned with what you want to accomplish with the business. And so I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, to answer your question, Jeff, from my perspective, I actually came out of the creative side of the business. I studied to be a graphic designer, web developer, and so that's what I did for quite a few years with Fortune 500 businesses, global businesses, and then I saw how much they were spending on agencies, and so I left there, started a business. This was my first business years and years ago, and did that for about 5 years. But through that process of working with clients, I would often discover, because they would come to you with a pre-cooked idea of what they wanted, but not why they wanted it, or a strategy. And so they would say, I need a brochure, I need a website, I need whatever it is. But when you started to probe, you'd find out there's actually nothing behind this except a feeling that they need something. It's more of an emotion. And so I became very involved in the marketing side of things at that point. And then when I decided to close down that business and move into the corporate world again, I went 100% into marketing and did that for quite a while. Again, with large businesses, managing teams, being part of big teams. The last one I was in was a loyalty marketing business. And so lots and lots of learning through that process. But when I came out of that, and was going to start another business, and this time entirely focused on marketing, I realized that because of my corporate experience, I wanted to bring data-driven insights. I wanted to bring strategies and systems and processes, because I saw the power of those in highly complex environments. And I recognize that most small businesses do not have those. And so I knew I was either going to create my own systems and processes or find another one. And thankfully, somebody I used to work with in the corporate world suggested I check out Duct Tape Marketing, read the book, went to a duct tape marketing summit, and the rest is history. Became a certified duct tape marketer very quickly, because it's a proven process that can be repeated. Mm-hmm. And so I've been in business now for 10 years. It's coming up to 10 years, which I'm excited about, and have branched off, a secondary side to the business, which is focused on dentistry, just because I didn't even mention that part of my background is in medical devices and that kind of stuff. So worked with lots of people in the audiology side of things. So, yeah. Thanks for asking.
So here we are.
That's how we got into marketing. What keeps us going every day? What keeps us? I know, life and business especially has ups and downs. We've all gone through different scenarios. But is there something each of you guys gets excited about in the marketing world right now? So, Ken?
Yeah. So what gets me excited, or why I get up and do this every day?
Yeah. But hopefully there might be a merger of the two, or you can separate them out.
So one is I love being a small business owner. I love having control over my schedule. I love being able to kind of set my own course. Obviously, there's a lot of stress. There are a lot of challenges, but ultimately, at the end of the day, I think it's incredibly rewarding. What I love about my job is problem solving. And I love learning about different types of businesses. So while we work with, some different verticals consistently over and over and over again, really anybody who is in business, doing business in a local area, whether your people come to your place of business or whether you serve people in a place of business, the basic toolkit and the methodology and systems that you need to have in place are largely the same. And I'm a big fan of reason by analogy. So I like to see, what is a plumber doing over here that I might be able to take and apply to a restaurant over here. And they may not seem like they're very similar businesses, but in terms of solving a core problem, I need more customers, or I need to be able to respond faster to people when they're making a request, whether it's booking an appointment to get a water heater replaced, or whether it's making a reservation at a restaurant. There are similarities there. And so I love that aspect of it. And the last thing I'll say is I'm a philosophy major. I got my bachelor's degree in philosophy. I am a lifelong learner. I love learning. I absolutely love learning. And there's no better field to be in right now than this, because it requires constant learning. And you need to walk into that knowing, if you're going to get in marketing, you either pick one solution set that you're really good at, or you damn well better be prepared to have to learn a lot constantly all the time and make a huge investment in your own personal growth.
And the velocity is only growing faster, it feels like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you, Paul?
What about me? What did I do?
Exactly.
What do you get excited about? What gets you up every morning and keeps you doing what you do? Other than the paycheck and getting to work with Ken.
As of late, it's I think it's the possibilities that AI have introduced into marketing, and like we said earlier, it's gotten very technical. But using AI to build solutions, Ken was talking about the commonalities between different industries, that a lot of times they all have the same basic issues at their core, and we're living in a world, entering into a time where all of these AI can solve a lot of these problems, or help solve a lot of these problems, but it has to be properly implemented. And you would think these big companies would have this figured out, and they don't. I'm telling you, every time Microsoft updates my Windows 11, they screw something up. I mean, it just doesn't stop. But AI it's a double-edged sword, and learning how to properly implement that, Ken talked about a learning curve, and it's a big learning curve. And I would just caution that AI is not a magic silver bullet. We talked about it before. It's another tool in the toolbox. But it can play a big part in helping businesses address some of the problems they have, like the speed of response, self-booking calendars, things like that. And
it's a new fun sandbox for us to play in as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, again, goes back to the engineer in me, by
Yeah.
training in early career. I like solving problems. I like building things. When I was a little kid, I remember being like 5 years old, and I had an old alarm clock. I took it apart and tried to figure out how to put it back together. I probably failed, but you learn. So that's a strong aspect of it. I also like educating, teaching people things. I like learning new things myself, like Ken said. And then I like teaching them, breaking them down, simplifying it for other people. So Ken said, he's a big picture thinker. The fancy term for that is systems thinker. And I was in my management career, part of my career, when I actually went to a training class, and they identified me. Yeah, you're a systems thinker. You think in the big picture, but I also like being able to break it down to smaller pieces and explain that to people, whether that's people on the team to get something done, or the people that are going to use it so they understand why it is the way it is, or why we want to do what we want to do. And then, like Paul said, the AI that's a bright new shiny object. It's really intriguing. And Paul, while you were talking, you said it's a tool in the toolbox. It absolutely is, but it's also a part to be used and integrated. And I'm trying to think of how many other things that are are both a tool to get something done, to help you get something done better, faster, more efficiently, as well as a moving part in the system that can actually do stuff. It's kind of unique in that sense. So that's really intriguing, and we're going deeper and deeper into AI as well. But yeah, that's the quick overview of what I love about this and why I like to keep doing it.
Yeah, and I just like to caution people that AI is not a magic bullet. And when you're creating these AI bots, as they're known, it takes, you have to train them. You can't just throw it out there and here it is. It works. No, it doesn't.
Yep.
Yeah, and I would echo, what I've heard from you guys too. Like out of the box problem solving, I love to do. And then the other aspect of it is the soft side of business and serving clients is I absolutely love helping small businesses thrive today. I love helping them grow. I love helping them build greater equity in their businesses. That really gets me up and excited every day. Let's see. So is there any advice you would give to someone getting into marketing today? Paul, why don't we start with you? We can keep this probably pretty short because I think we've covered some of this, but
recognize what you're actually getting into.
Yeah.
Because like we've talked about, it has gotten technical, and that's where, like, I think all of us, we have that technical background to varying degrees, but and we've been talking about the the AI stuff, and it almost seems like things, even though it's getting more and more technical and it requires more and more knowledge to do a lot of these things, it seems like things are devolving to the lowest common denominator. I mean, just this morning, I blocked and marked as spam 5 emails from somebody with a free email address, Gmail, Microsoft, trying to sell me marketing services. And it's like, you can't spend $5 a month on a real domain-based email address. But small businesses don't think about that. They get these emails and they're they'll solve all my marketing problems for $10 a month, or whatever it is, and that's not reality. So recognize what you're getting into and the level of knowledge. And Ken talked about the constant learning. I think we all do that. I mean, I spend a lot of time reading different things, studying different things, learning different things. And like I said, just recognize what you're actually getting into and what really is required.
Never a dull moment in marketing.
Yeah.
What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I would tell somebody starting out, don't pigeonhole yourself. Be open to change. Be open to always broadening out what you do. If you pigeonhole yourself in one thing, it can go out of style, and then what? You got to start over. You got to take a reset, take time out, potentially with no paycheck to go retrain. And you're also limiting yourself to the number of problems you can solve for people. And really, it goes counter to what we preach too, which is marketing is a system that has a lot of moving parts. So anyone starting out who goes, "Oh, I'm just going to be a social media expert," you may be the best social media expert in the world, but businesses need more than social media. So what you may want to do is pushing yourself into a big corporate environment where you can be pigeonholed as part of a big team versus working at the broader level. So that's my advice is keep an open mind to new stuff, what's changing, and don't pigeonhole yourself.
Yeah. What about you, Ken?
So I guess my take is a little bit different than Jeff's. I think it's closely aligned, but I'm going to say it a little bit differently. So I think you need to figure out what kind of company you want to have. Do you want to be a solopreneur doing marketing services? Do you want to get an agency going? Do you want to develop a specific expertise and be known for that expert in that particular solution set or that particular niche? So you really need to figure that out. If you don't, you're going to get very frustrated. The other huge thing that people always seem to overlook is how hard sales is. If you're good at marketing, you may not be a good salesperson. And that's a big challenge. I've talked to so many people who have marketing skills from past experience, who are looking to kind of create their own career and shape their own destiny and build their own business. And they always forget how hard it is to go get leads and close those leads and turn them into sales. So don't forget that. I think that's massive. There are, I think you have to decide what kind of company or what kind of marketing entity you're going to be. You could go deep in a particular technology or a particular niche, maybe even a little bit safer, because Jeff mentioned the kind of the perils if you pick a technology and that starts to fall out of favor. Draw on your own personal experience. I mean, if you worked in audiology, for example, then go sell to people who need marketing services for audiologists. If that's something that you but the other thing is you got to be passionate about it. So if you didn't like that, then don't pick that, So it's really just be honest with yourself, figure out the type of company. You might have to bootstrap, you might have to start specializing in a niche, either solution based or industry based to get started, but have the vision of where you want to move forward, because as Jeff said, you don't want to get to the situation where you make this big investment only to figure out that you picked a losing marketing scheme of the day, and then you have to turn around and start all over again. The other thing I will say is, that's advice for people getting into marketing as a career. For business owners, who are trying to get into marketing where they really haven't done so in the past, realize that there are a bazillion people who read stuff online and think that they can become a digital marketing expert. They think the path to entry is pretty low. There are some technologies that make some things pretty easy. But again, if you don't have the breadth and depth and rounded experience of technology, creative, project management, big picture thinking, strategic thinking, you're not going to get the right person. So just because somebody says they're a digital marketing expert, you really need to vet them. And if you don't know how to vet them, try to hire somebody that you know to help you vet them, because otherwise you're taking a big risk with somebody if they can't back up their credentials. And make sure they're not one-dimensional.
Yeah, I would echo.
Probably said it.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
I was going to say, I probably said it before on the podcast. I've been saying it more and more lately, is that digital marketers, and I use the air quotes intentionally, are the realtors of the 21st century. In other words, 20, 30 years ago, you burned out in your career. You didn't know what you want to do. You went and you became a realtor. Right now, I don't know what I want to do. I know I'm good at social media. I like being on TikTok. I'll be a digital marketer. And digital marketer doesn't really mean anything if it's one dimensional. But you can't throw a stone without hitting one. So you really got to do your homework and vet the people that you're talking to about doing your overall marketing, and marketing is more than just digital. So
I would suggest, and I'm thinking in my mind, somebody younger, somebody maybe either just getting out of high school or they've gone to college or university and now they're trying to figure out their career. I would just say, and I say this with every young person I ever talk with about job stuff when they ask questions or try to figure out direction, and that's shadow somebody in the business for a week or a day, even if you can't do a week, right? But find somebody in the industry who's being successful in it and ask them if they would mind you shadowing them, just to learn, just to see, just what does it look like? And if you can't get that, do an information interview with them to understand what a day in the life looks like, because I think that's really key, because all of us have different expectations or perceptions of what something is that people do. And I think all jobs look very, very different, all careers. The second thing I would say is go deep, whether it's a passion, whether it's something you see momentum in the industry, especially after you ask somebody in the industry, go deep in one thing, just learn the heck out of it, because that will make you invaluable in that one thing. But learn systems and processes, like study duct tape marketing, read the book. Stuff like that can tell you the big picture view and then how your one thing fits in there. And you can always add more arrows into your quiver as you develop your expertise and career. But if you go too shallow, you'll never have something compelling enough for someone to hire you, right? So anyways, yeah, I'm going to skip over one question if that's okay, guys, because I think we've answered it. I wanted to get into this, but it's a very broad question. But this is one of the questions people ask me, especially if you're just kind of, you're at dinner, you're at a chamber event or something, and they're like, "Man, this is my business. What marketing should I be doing?" And that's a broad question. But how you guys might not even be able to answer it right now. But how would you approach that with somebody? How would you answer that question? So Ken.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the low-hanging fruit that pertain to most businesses, and every business is going to have some different needs, and based on the life cycle of where they're at with their business and the challenges that they're facing. But having said that, you can't go wrong by plugging your leaky lead system. You probably have a leaky lead system. You're already being found by people in a variety of different ways, and you're probably not following up. The statistics are overwhelming that small businesses historically are really bad at follow up. And when they get a lead that comes in through the website, they take a long time to respond. So plug that, use AI, like AI voice solutions and AI chat solutions to plug those leaks, to capture every lead. Speed of response is critical, as we've talked about for so long in this podcast. Getting a review management system in place. You need social proof for people to start to trust your business. They need to see what other people are saying about you. They may believe you, but they want to have independent verification. And online review strategy is super important. If you just leave it up to somebody's, if you just leave it up to chance, chances are, if you do get reviews, they're going to skew to the negative. You need to take control over it. You need to monitor it, and you need to get comfortable asking for reviews. The third thing that I would say, and I'm going to keep it just to these three because I think these are fantastic starting points, is database or customer reactivation. Take your existing customer base and go back to them and make sure that they know what all you do. Ask them for more business. Give them a compelling reason to give you more business and buy from you again. And if they're not ready to do that, or you're not in a business like a roofer where there isn't a lot of short-term repeat business, then that can turn into a request to ask for referrals or reviews, both of which help your business. But having a review strategy, a reactivation strategy, and a referral strategy, I kind of bundle those three together into what I call the 3 R's. That's a fantastic launching point, and it's so much cheaper to get a past customer to buy from you again because they already know, like, and trust you, hopefully. If not, you've got some deeper problems. But maybe this will help uncover those problems as well if you didn't realize that. But I think those would be 3 fantastic starting points.
Yeah. All good ones. Thanks, Ken. What about you, Jeff?
So I'm going to start with the flip answer, which is the marketing you should be doing is the marketing that works. But let's dig into that a little bit. How do you know what marketing is going to work? You don't know that unless you have a firm grasp on your strategy. So we talk about strategy, or at least when I do, there's 3 things that I put into it. Some people only talk about 2, but I put a third one, and I'll tell you why. Strategy is about knowing who you want to reach, right? And that means, where are they hanging out, so to speak? Where are they getting their information from? What are they looking at? What do they respond to? If you don't know that, you don't know whether you should do SEO, whether you should be on social media, or whether you should run ads on Hulu, right? You've got to know who you're trying to reach and what they're paying attention to. The second element of it is you've got to know what you want to tell them that's different about your business versus everyone else trying to get their attention. And then the third thing, and this is what often doesn't get discussed as part of strategy, but I think it absolutely is what actions do you want people to take? What path do you want to lead them down, and how are you going to do it? If you don't know that, then everything else is just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks. So that's where I say you've absolutely got to be doing a good job on your strategy, and that will inform whether you do reviews. Ken, I will disagree a little bit on reviews for local businesses, absolutely, but for like a national medical software company, the reviews aren't Google reviews. Maybe the reviews in the medical journals or something. So there is going to be social proof that you need, but I mean, what I'm going back to is the tactics are different for different businesses and different marketplaces. So it always has got to start with a strategy, and that will inform whether you should do SEO. I had a medical software company I worked with for 5 years that I can guarantee you their target audience was not Googling them. It was not Googling, medical software. It was direct. It was outreach. It was conferences. So whether you should be doing the in-person, the networking, the conferences strategy, whether you should be that, and then having an email follow-up so you do get into the technology at some point, or whether you should do SEO or whether reviews are, I mean, that all comes from the strategy. But I will say that online, ultimately, things are going to lead back to the website. So that is one constant, that no matter what the business, they need to have a good website. But after that, it's informed by the strategy, and it's going to be a package of tactics that all come together to support the marketing.
Love it. Love it. You're talking my language, man. Paul, what about you?
Yeah, that's a very broad question.
Yeah, I know it is.
And I think I'm going to start with what you shouldn't do. And what you shouldn't do is think that all I need is social media, or all I need is this one thing, and that'll solve all my problems. But it's kind of goes back to what Ken and Jeff were talking about is strategy and knowing and understanding your market and your competition. Because if you're in downtown Chicago, the marketing you need to be doing is going to be drastically different than if you're in a rural, city of 25,000 people. So understanding your environment, your competition, your marketplace, that's going to define the type of marketing you should be doing. That's kind of how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome. And the only thing, you guys all answered this really well. So the only thing, and it dovetails with what you guys have said. When people come to me and they ask me this question, usually it's sometimes a little bit of marketing therapist, Ian, the marketing therapist. I'm sure you guys feel like this sometimes, like, hey, I tried this, it doesn't work, right? But it's doing an audit of their marketing now. You talked, Jeff, about like what's working, what's not. This is one of the ways I find really helpful is, just benchmarking. Where are we today? Because sometimes that helps us. Obviously, you have to know about the business, who their ideal clients are. You have to have some of that knowledge in order to develop the strategy. But having that audit, that data can help feed that as well. So great answers, guys.
Just to expand on, I think Paul hit the nail on the head. It's not one thing. I think a lot of times clients come, they're looking for the silver bullet. Well, what I'm doing isn't working. What should I be doing? And they're looking for that one thing that if they only did that, the leads would come to them in droves and they'd be, laughing all the way to the bank. And it doesn't work that way. It's many things working together, and it starts with the strategy.
Amplification.
Do you guys get asked that question? Because years ago, people would ask me that question bluntly, like, what's the marketing silver bullet? Nobody asks me that anymore. So I don't know if it's because of my look on my face, or, I don't know what it is, or maybe people are sophisticated enough now that they know it's not one thing. Do you guys still get asked that question?
I wouldn't say directly, but that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
I still think there's this idea that people have that, like, just if I just do this one thing, all my problems are solved. I do think there's that idea out there, and I think it comes back to, we live in a complicated society, and people are overwhelmed, and things are complicated, and it's like there's got to be an easier way, and sometimes there just isn't. And I don't think it's a lack of sophistication or whatever word you want to use. I think it's one of those, how can I make my life simpler kind of things.
And the industry itself, like there's so much noise, and a lot of the voices you hear in the industry are junk. Like because we know, being in the industry, if we followed their advice, we'd tank the businesses we're serving, and that's not what we want to do.
Yeah, it's I think, I think what's really dangerous is people. We get approached from so many people saying, "I want SEO," and what they think SEO means is literally going in and getting just the stuff on your website done. Getting the meta titles, the the meta descriptions, the alt text, all of that kind of stuff. And there are so many people who will sell them that solution, and they think, all right, I checked that box. Everybody's telling me I need SEO. That's the pervasive wisdom right now. But you got to realize that SEO is not that one-dimensional thing. It's an omni-channel driven approach that has a lot of different components working together. And SEO defined properly is at least 3 or 4 separate disciplines that you need to be taking advantage of. So you need to know what people are selling you, and if it sounds too good to be true and it's too cheap to be true, it's not going to work for you. You're going to be wasting your money. Save it and wait until you can invest in a proper set of tactics and strategy.
Yeah.
It's not one and done. It's not a box to be checked. It's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
Well, there's two things specifically around SEO when I get asked about it. Is I tell people, I didn't coin this phrase, I can't remember who did, John Jantz maybe, but SEO requires an ongoing commitment to content. If you're not willing on an ongoing basis to be putting new content out for the search engines to take in and digest and analyze, then it's not going to be as effective. Now, that said, things are changing rapidly in the SEO world because of AI. And actually, there's some debate, is SEO dead? And I think the answer is no, but it's shifting, it's transforming. So again, understanding and keeping up with that. But the other thing around SEO, and I totally just lost my train of thought. I had 2 ongoing commitment to content, and well, I totally lost. I guess the third thing now I throw in, I'm trying to think of the second one, is it's a flywheel effect. You got to do it. It's got to spin up and build more and more and more. I know what the other one was. Whenever you hear somebody say, "Oh, we're going to guarantee that we get you on page 1 of Google in X months," really, really question that. Do a search, see how many pages there are that Google has to choose from, and then ask the question back, "Oh, really? There's 1 million pages. How am I going to be one of the top 10 in a month?"
Yeah.
Right. It just, again, like you said, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah. SEO's been dead about 5,000 times. Print's dead. Everything's
Email's dead. Yeah, everything's dead until it isn't, until it comes back around again.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's been evolving every day, every week since I've been in the business as well. So it's nothing new to us. I mean, the funny thing is, and I would suggest this for every listener that thinks that AI is taking over SEO, simply go into ChatGPT or one of the AI engines and ask it how to rank your business and your website on that AI engine. And the strategies are exactly the same as what we've been talking about for 10 years. Exactly the same. Like they are, that's the AI telling you, right? Anyways, well, that's another topic.
Yeah.
But as a final question, like somebody who needs clients or leads right now, and they're saying, "What should I do?" Ken, what would you tell them?
What I said for my previous answer, reputation management, because you will get, if you get reviews, it increases your visibility and trust and social proof. Customer database reactivation program. Go back to your past customers, get them to be in it. COVID proved this, and it proved the importance of it. We've known it for a long time, but it's easy to overlook. If those businesses that have a list that can go back to their list when they need business and revenue, the fastest, cheapest way to ramp that up is to leverage your existing customer base. So take advantage of that. If you don't, make sure you plug all your leads. If you're leaking leads, you're missing out on all the client opportunity. Just think, in your industry, what is the average deal size worth to you? If you're a roofer, $8,000. If you miss one phone call, that phone call could be $8,000 to you. You can't afford, but guess what? Your competitors love it when you don't answer the phone, because that just means that they're probably calling your competitors. So, think about that. The last thing is, if you do need to step on the gas and you really don't have much of an online presence and you don't have much of a customer list, and you don't really have the base of customers to go write the volume of reviews that you need, and don't spam reviews, but do them legitimately, then you got to pay to advertise. And then it's a matter of picking the channel that aligns with where your ideal customer is most likely to be. And if you're looking at intention oriented, Google search ads can be a great place to be. If it's lifestyle driven and you can afford to advertise on Facebook, and the costs are going to vary based on intent driven versus interest driven advertising. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, platforms like that may be okay. If you know that there's a particular hot solution, like certain businesses do really well on Yelp, certain businesses do really well advertising on, Angie, figure out what, and every market, even next door, different markets have different channels that work better. In different neighborhoods, next door may work really well, but it doesn't work very well in many neighborhoods. So it's really just dependent upon how quickly you need those leads. And I would say, if you don't know, you probably would want to go with intention oriented, because that way it's going to get you the most bang for the buck in your advertising spend. And by that, I mean, look for those keyword phrases that can trigger your ads where people are expressing a desire to buy. So for example, somebody types in house painter near me. That's a pretty strong indication they're looking to hire a house painter. So that's a good advertising phrase. What's the hottest paint color? That's not going to get you, the results that you need, and it's going to waste your advertising dollars.
Mm-hmm. Good points. What about you, Mr. Paul?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, where are you in your business maturity, if you will, or how long have you been around? Ken talked about database reactivation, reviews, things like that, if you don't have reviews. But if you're a brand new business and you basically don't have any of that, I think the biggest mistake a lot of startups make is they don't factor in, and we've talked about this, they don't factor in marketing. They start a business and they have zero budget for marketing. And if you have zero budget for marketing, how are you going to obtain clients? And, sure, run ads. Google ads are not cheap. Anyone that has been running Google ads, the costs have gone up like 30, 40%. So, like I think Ken touched on a lot of it, but that's the one thing I would add, is that make sure you have room in your budget for marketing, because if you don't, how are you going to get clients?
Yeah, Jeff, what's the saying you always go back to, Peter Drucker?
Oh, there's two things that make money for any business: the product or service they deliver. I'm paraphrasing that, but the product or service they deliver, I think he calls that innovation, and marketing. Because you got to have something to sell. You got to have somebody to sell to.
Yep.
What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, so I think, again, depends on, like Paul said, where in the stage of your business you are. But to me, there's two main things that stand out. If you're really looking to do something fast, you can either advertise for it, assuming that, like I just said earlier, some businesses, if they're not doing Google searches, then Google ads aren't going to show up either, right? Because Google ads are search driven. But whether it's Google ads or Facebook ads or over-the-top streaming ads, which have gotten pretty cost effective, you can advertise to get leads. That's very quick. I mean, you can literally have an ad running in a day or two. I used to say this afternoon, but the platforms have made it a little bit harder. Or, and then this is the other thing that a lot of people may not want to do because it involves personal effort and communication, is activate your networks, right? Take everyone you know, every business group you've been in, every contact you have, and you can do it through an email, like Ken said, a reactivation, or you can do it through personal outreach. If you do personal outreach, you can target the people that you want to build deeper, tighter relationships with sooner, and then get them to start referring business to you. So I think those are the most immediate things you can do. But keep in mind that whether it's a referral coming from a trusted partner or an ad you run, your prospect is going to land on your website. So your website has got to be good looking. It's got to speak the prospect's language. It's got to lead them, draw them in toward taking an action. All the networking in the world and all the ads in the world can be worthless if the website fails. And I've had cases of that with clients not taking advice, and we do a great job driving traffic to the website, and then they don't get leads from it because they didn't take our recommendations on what they need to do.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's really those three things: the two of activating, personal networking groups, and then possibly running ads if you have the budget, but then making sure your website is going to convert them.
Yeah, great points.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ken. I see a thought coming.
Great point about the offline strategy, Jeff. Right now, I just had a conversation with somebody this week. Their current marketing company is telling them, you need to do SEO, you need to do SEO, you need to do SEO. You got to create all this content to do that, yada, yada, yada. And really, for that particular business, the best strategy is to go find that one or two or three golden geese referral sources.
Mm-hmm.
And then create a formalized referral program where it's crystal clear to them what's in it for them when they refer somebody business to you. And the more that you can define that and quantify it with, a referral payment program or an affiliate program, for example, that one customer could literally give you dozens of customers. So if you're on a limited marketing budget, you go find that one golden goose referral source, work that hard. We're doing a lot with around Dream 100 programs for clients where it doesn't have to be 100. That's just kind of the concept, but pick a small number of people, invest deeply in building the relationship with them because they are the ideal customer that is most lucrative for you. If you take the referral strategy, instead of selling to one customer, you sell to somebody who are your golden geese referral sources, build those partnership programs that can really amplify your business growth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The things I was going to share, you guys have all covered, like having strategic referral partners. Like, I had a guy that I knew back in my corporate life who reached out to me just last week because he's now a sales coach, right? A business development coach, and it's his own business. He's a consultant. And so he was looking for a marketing consultant that he can refer back and forth between. So that's a really great strategic partnership if you can find something like that, but you have to think about it. I love the referral incentives. I think that's a great idea. Even things like you talked about networking, but even trade shows, cold calling, like call up your network, get in touch with them. People to people is where deals are done, right? So that there's nothing faster that you can do than reaching out to prospective referral partners or actual clients. I hate cold calling, but try to do it in a warm way. And then the last thing I was going to say that dovetails with everything you guys have talked about, like paid ads, even strategic referral partners, that kind of stuff, is have a compelling offer. Like if you are hurting right now, and your pricing structure is such that it's not turning leads into clients quickly enough, think about a compelling offer. There's lots of ways to do it. Of course, there's discounting, but there's lots of ways to bundle things and provide extra value in order to help people move forward quicker. And all of the advice that you guys have given is fantastic.
Yeah, and the offer, I'm glad you brought up offers because that's so important. Urgency and scarcity are great things to put around your offers. Limited number or limited time frame for people to take action to get that offer. you want to make it compelling, like you said, Ian, and those are two really great strategies to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've
Ian, you know,
doing it more too, where we if we feel a client is kind of on the fence of starting with us, sometimes we will throw in like a certain percentage discount for the first 3 months, because those are the most critical months, right? The first 90 days of working with a client are so important, and just helping give them a little relief sometimes can just, push them over the edge to make that great decision. What were you going to say, Jeff?
Ian, something you said, you triggered two thoughts, and I'm going to remember them both this time.
I'm sorry I triggered you.
Prove it.
The first one, it was your comment about cold calling. You said you hate cold calling. And I think it was a Sandler sales training. I think it's David Sandler. He said something that stuck with me. He's dead a long time, but it's in his book, or they preach it in the training. Is you don't have to like cold calling. You just have to do it, right? Mm-hmm. You got to kind of push past and just do it. The Nike slogan, right? But kind of related to that,
what's the worst they can say to you? No, right? They might yell at you. Who knows?
Yeah. and that's why a lot of people don't like it. But the people that love it and do it and really get into it, they don't get dissuaded by the 10 no's. They get energized by the one yes.
Yeah,
that's what they're going for. But the other kind of corollary to you don't have to like it, you just have to do it, is don't let something you don't like get in your head as, oh, that won't work. It may not work if you personally do it because you're approaching it the wrong way or with the wrong energy. But that doesn't mean if you have somebody else do it, it won't work. Or broaden that out beyond cold calling to any tactic. Oh, I hate social media. I don't want to be on social media. But if your target audience is all over social media, your business had better be there, even if you aren't personally. So, don't let those biases creep in. Just push through them, get somebody else to do them, or recognize that they are important to tactics are important to your audience.
And be open-minded, because if something hasn't worked in the past, it's not always because a tactic might not be successful or even a strategy. It might be because the wrong people were doing it in the wrong way to the wrong people, right? Like there's lots of ways to do it more strategically. So make sure there's a plan behind it. Well, guys, I know we're at the end of our time. Let me just close us off today. First of all, by saying thank you guys for sharing your stories, some of your stories, and sharing some of these key insights. I think we're going to have a version B of this, because we only just touched the tip of the iceberg as far as questions that we get asked about marketing. But I want to thank our listeners. Thank you for listening. If you found this episode helpful, interesting, please consider subscribing, sharing, liking, you name it. Share it with other business owners who might benefit. Until next time, keep calm and market on, folks.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks, everyone.